What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon, and I'm back at you another one. And ever since the success of the movie Sinners, people have been clamoring. What's the deal? What is going on with a prequel or sequel movie? In this video, I'm going to dispel all the rumors and the lies and tell you the facts about will there be a sequel or a prequel for this great movie Sinners. As of the time of me shooting this video right now, Ryan Coogler has said many a times that he has no plans of making a sequel or prequel for the movie Sinners, but that could change, and I'll explain to you why. So all the rumors that you have seen out there of the Sinners multi-universe and all these other movies that they have put out there, Ryan Coogler has stated that they are all fake. So don't believe the hype or the people just trying to get clicks on the internet knowing that Sinners is a hot topic right now and they just want those views, so they want to come out there and put something out there to make you just click on it. Ryan Coogler has said and stated he has no plans and never did when he made the movie Sinners to make a prequel or sequel. Now that could change, and let me tell you exactly why. This movie is a smash hit. Out of the 366 critics, cine reviewers that have been tabulated by Rotten Tomatoes, only 10 gave it a negative rating, earning it a certified fresh tomato score of 97% and making it one of their highest rated. And at the same time, audiences have agreed, giving it a 4.8 out of 5 stars on the verified hot popcorn meter, giving it a score of 96%. So critics and fans both enjoyed this movie a lot. And when you have that type of grassroots movement that built this movie up week after week after week, studios take notice to that, and studios are in the business of making money. So when you have the critics and the fans both loving this movie and the movie making the studio money, then that's when the studio heads to the director and says, what can we do to make you make a part 2 of this movie? At the time that I'm making this video, Sinners has grossed $261 million in domestic theaters and $79.9 million in all international markets, giving it a total haul of $340.9 million. That makes it the 6th highest grossing movie of 2025 so far. It is only behind Thunderbolts, Lilo and Stitch, Captain America, Minecraft, and Nazatu. Now these are all big, huge budget movies. Sinners was not that. Movies typically need to earn back at least 2.5 times their price tags in order to return a profit in theaters. And the budget in Sinners this time gave it a huge hurdle to overcome that. It cost about $90 million to make, which makes its estimated break-even point around $225 million, which is a massive milestone that only 28 other horror movies have surpassed throughout the whole history of the movie-making business. In its opening weekend alone, the Sinners box office broke a number of notable records. The movie made $48 million at the domestic box office, which had earned its best Easter debut for an R-rated movie, beating 2002's Panic Room, the best opening weekend for an original R-rated horror movie since 2021's Halloween Kills, and the 9th best opening weekend of all time for any R-rated horror movie. The opening weekend was just the tip of the iceberg for this movie. During its second weekend at the box office, it dropped 4.8%. Most times, horror movies have a 50% or more drop during its second weekend. This is the second smallest weekend drop all time for any R-rated horror movie. During its second week, we have to understand that this was the second best weekend ever for a non-Marvel Ryan Coogler movie, and the second best sophomore weekend for an R-rated horror movie, only behind 2017's It. In North America, it only took 9 days for it to pass the $100 million mark milestone. It followed that by crossing the $150 million milestone on day 15 and the $200 million milestone, which only 22 R-rated movies have ever crossed before, on day 23. So the money it's already made has made this movie profitable to the studio. And this does not include all the streaming options and all the people who are going to buy the DVDs and the Blu-rays and everything else that's yet to come, which is going to be even more money. This by far is Ryan Coogler's biggest movie outside of the Black Panther series. So he may not have made this movie with the plans of making a sequel or a prequel, but when you have numbers like this, it's going to be hard for him to turn down the studio, who is definitely going to come to him, because ever since they lost Nolan Ryan, they have always been looking to try to get a new director on board for their studio. And he might just be that director for them, which would mean they would greenlight just about any movie he puts in front of them. So that's why he would want to do this. And again, this is the biggest film he's ever made outside of the Black Panther series. That's all the Creed movies and everything else. This is his biggest movie. And we haven't even talked about the Oscar buzz, which this movie most likely will be nominated for Best Movie of the Year Oscar. And if it somehow does pull that off, now we know the Oscars are funny, and a lot of these movies that have won lately were not the Best Picture of the Year. But if he somehow can pull off the Best Picture of the Year or Best Director of the Year for this movie, then I think that it's a no-brainer and he's going to have no choice but to make a sequel or a prequel of this movie. But that in itself is going to be a problem. Now, what would be the best prequel for this movie? I would say if you brought the Smokestack twins right back to when they were just about to leave to go work for Al Capone. So that way you can have all the characters alive once again. You can have them all discussing them about to go to Chicago and everything that transpires then, and then have them do their whole run in Chicago. What happened when they first got there, how they met the people that put them up with Al Capone, how they gained their reputation, and eventually effing over the mob, which they did, stealing all their liquor, stealing some money, and then coming back all the way down to the start of this movie, Sinners. But the problem with that is I don't know how they would be able to incorporate any vampires in this type situation, because it was clear that they've never seen vampires before and they had no idea what a vampire was during this movie. So you wouldn't be able to have that element in it unless you want to say Al Capone's a vampire, they never knew about it, or there's some other gangsters there that are vampires that they never knew about. We know that vampires do exist, but they are not familiar with vampires. And then you would not have a huge role for Haley Steinfeld to play in this movie if you had that part. So you wouldn't be able to bring back the cast for the whole movie. It would be a whole different situation. Now, I do believe that that would be a great movie, but without the vampires, I don't know if that movie works. I think it needs the vampires. That's the part of the movie. But I could see them 100% going this route. But if somehow Ryan Coogler could somehow pull off a gangster movie with vampires in it, I think that would be epic. But I just see the problems of adding the vampires to this stuff and not having Haley Steinfeld and the rest of the cast in the movie that long. The next choice would be the obvious choice, and that is just to do a straight sequel of this movie. We've seen the post-credit scene, and we've seen how we can just take that post-credit scene and go from there and just focus on Stack and Mary and everything that happened to them up until that point or after that point. That would be an obvious point. Again, you would not have all of the cast returning because a lot of them would be dead. It's possible you can have, the Sammy story going on here and them just on the outside because Sammy has no idea that they are alive or what happened to them. So you wouldn't be able to have them interact. And again, at this particular time, you would lose the twins, which I think is the movie itself. You have to have the Smokestack twins in it, and you would not have them both in it. You would just have Stack and Mary basically going off and having their adventures. And for this reason, I think it would be extremely hard for them to do this movie this way. I don't know if people would even want to see a movie with Stack and Mary just going around being vampires without Smoke and the rest of the cast being in it. Obviously, a lot of the cast is not going to be in it because they're dead. So you bring in new cast members and you start the movie, but in itself, without the Smokestack twins, to me, the movie does not work. And I don't think a lot of people just want to see Stack and Mary. That's just me. So that's why I don't think that that movie would work that way. They could also go the Remick route, right? And show a history of Remick and go back to how Remick became a vampire. And you can go all the way back to old Ireland and show a whole lot of that stuff and how he built and how he came to America and everything else. But without the Smokestack twins, I don't think this movie succeeds. Again, it has to focus on Michael B. Jordan's characters in order for it to work at all, in my opinion. I don't see it working any other way, especially achieving the numbers that it did, because you know that it's going to be an even bigger budget the next time around. So it's going to have to do more than it did this first movie. And that would be the problem, because there's no way he's going to do it for just 90 million again. He may increase that budget twofold, which I think would be a mistake. You want to keep that budget nice and low and keep it right in the wheelhouse so you can make this money. So in order to do that, you got to have bona fide stars in there, and Michael B. Jordan is that bona fide star. So I think you need the Smokestack twins in order for this to work. So the only way I can see this working is if you do a form of a prequel and you just don't have Haley Steinfeld in it that much. That sucks for her. And you don't have the most of the other cast going in it, but you do have Al Capone and everything else that's going on in Chicago. And listen, they may visit them in Chicago. There could be a way they work around it, that they have a couple of characters visit them while they're out there and while they're building, and that's how you bring them back. You could easily do that, but then we have the vampire problem. And we don't have Remick, and we don't know if there actually are vampires in Chicago. Again, we know that there are vampires, so they could somehow put them in this movie. The problem is that Smoke and Stack are not supposed to know what a vampire is. So even if they're confronted by vampires, they can't know exactly what it is during the movie, or they would have been prepared or knew exactly what was going on in this Sinners movie. So making a prequel, making a sequel is not as easy as people think. You have to really think it through. And again, you don't want to tarnish the legacy of this movie that you just made. You don't want to put something out there that is not up to par or does not work just that well. And it really has to work better. It needs to be better than this movie. And that is going to be the problem with making a sequel or a prequel for this film. Of course, I want one, and I'm sure we all do. But in the end, I think it's a hard go for him to do it. Will he do it? I think if the money's there, and the money will be there. And again, I don't know Ryan Coogler if he's all about the money, but it isn't always about money. It's about having power. And he would have power at this studio, and he would be like their big director. And then he would be able to do all the other movies that he wants to do. Again, he made a deal that you don't get to make, that he gets the rights returned to him and his family after what, like 30 or something years. Studios don't make deals like that, and he got them to make this deal for him already, so they already have a lot of respect for him, or they didn't think that this movie would be as big as it was, and they blundered and gave him that deal. Either way, it's a great deal for him and his family. But you tell me in the comment section, do you think there will be a Sinners prequel, a sequel? And if it is, what do you want to see? And if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, spread this across the realm, and of course subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.